Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Our course material is also available for Hindi medium students. If you know a learner from Hindi medium, please share it with them. The link for Hindi medium lessons can be found in the bio of this video. In last part we learned, how did Britishers evolved from a trading company to an allied supplying forces to Indian rulers, and how did they start ruling Indian territories on the name of misgovernance by applying doctrine of lapse. Britishers had established their own governance model and judicial system and started believing they were superior to Indians and could easily rule over the Indian continent. Setting up a new administration. From 1772, a new system of justice was established by the colonial East India Company, under the governance of Warren Hastings. He served as the governor of Indian colony, from 1773 to 1785. The new system of justice was to have two courts. One criminal court, called as Faujdari Adalat, and the other was civil court, called as Diwani Adalat. The Maulvis and Pandits interpreted the Indian laws for European district collectors, who presided over the civil courts. However, the criminal courts were still governed by a Qazi, called as a judge, and a Mufti, called as a jurist of the Muslim community, who was responsible for amending the law that the Qazi would announce. Once these courts started their practices, a confusion came when the Pandits in different regions started giving different interpretations, based on their understanding of the Dharam Shastras. To address the issue, in 1775, a union of 11 Pandits were asked to devise a digest or a book of Hindu laws. In the similar fashion, in 1778, Code of Muslim Laws was also compiled for the benefit of the European judges, and to bring uniformity in the judicial system. By this time, Indian districts started to be governed by a collector. He was responsible for collecting revenues, taxes and maintaining law and order in his district with the help of judges, police officers and darogas. This is where the position of IAS of district collector devised in India. Today we all know the position of an IAS officer or a district magistrate. Hence, we can say that this process of managing law and order under a collector was introduced in India by the Britishers. The Company Army. Although the colonial rule in India introduced new ways of administration reforms, its power was still based on its military strength. The cavalry consisted the horse rider soldiers, and infantry of foot soldiers who were trained in archery and the use of swords. These cavalries were comfortable in fighting with these traditional methods of warfare. However, in the 18th century, Mughal successor states like Awadh and Banaras started recruiting local peasants and training them with modern techniques in European fashion. The East India Company adopted the same technique for recruiting its army and called it as the sepoy. The word sepoy came from the Hindi word sipahi. In the early 19th century, the warfare technology changed, and company's army experienced a decline in the cavalry. In 1820, the company army was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where soldiers were armed with muskets, a heavy gun used by soldiers, and matchlocks, a type of gun in which powder was ignited with a matchbox. Seeing the requirements of upskilling the soldiers in the army, Britishers introduced a common training culture, subjected to European-style training drill and discipline. However, the culture of common discipline and training was not much welcomed by the soldiers, as the new reforms came with religious sacrifices, for both Hindu and Muslim soldiers. These religious sacrifices were also one of the main reasons for the revolt of 1857, which was partially ignited by Sepoy Mangal Pandey after revolting against the British Army. We will learn about it in later lessons. As a conclusion, by 19th century, the East India Company had transformed itself from being just a small trading company set up in Bengal, to a territorial colonial power. A lot of changes and advancements occurred during this process. They also introduced steam engine trains, which helped them cover long distances in couple of weeks, where it could have taken months to travel through ships. By 1857, the company took charge of around 63% of the Indian territory and ruling over 78% of the population. Remaining areas had an indirect influence of the British rule. In a way, entire Indian subcontinent was under the rule of British East India Company.